parts. So the first part, we have Vicki and Steve from Missouri State University. They work in the financial aid department. So they're going to talk about all the different ways that you can pay for college, because I know that's a big question. I know it was a big question in my mind. It's a little confusing, so they're going to help provide some clarity on all the different ways to pay for college. And then after they're finished, Denise Johnson she's from the Community Partnership at the Ozarks, and she's going to talk about some budgeting tips on how to make a budget, because if you're paying for college, you're going to have to know how to pay for the rest of life at the same time. And so I'm so happy that you're all here. Miss Antoinette is going to interpret for us today, so everyone
You should go up and be in the front, though.
She wants to be in the front.
She should be in the front.
Rebecca.
You can't interpret
Rebecca has spoken.
Sorry.
Okay, so without further ado, I will turn the floor over to Steve.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, my name is Steve Garman. I work at Missouri State University in the financial aid office. So we're going to briefly talk about what financial aid is. So what you need. We're going to talk about how to find it, and then we're going to talk about how to get it in terms of actually filling out the FAFSA or other financial aid applications. Good? All right, here we go. First of all, does everybody have this?
No.
Did everyone get a copy? Looking for you. Also like a copy. There you go. Two more. All right. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Do you want me to pause?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Like I said, my name is Steve, and I've got my colleague over here, Vicki. Where's Vicki? Aha. Lovely. So, what I do at Missouri State is FAFSA, tax returns, and federal aid.
Chenye nafanyaga ku Missouri State University ni
FAFSA?
FAFSA, what is that?
It's the application for federal aid.
Nafanyaga marking applications federal
And tax returns,
na tax returns
and federal financial aid.
and na federal financial aid.
And Vicki works with loans and everything loans and budgeting.
Na Vicki anatumikaka kusema loans na budget.
So what is financial aid? And really, the more important question is, how much do you need?
Question ni ngapi zenye nataka?
Financial aid is your total cost, so what the school is charging and what other organizations are charging, like your landlord for rent or your grocery bill.
Financial, what is it?
We start with total costs, so school and non-school costs.
Okay. Financial aid maana ni maana uchumi ya kulipa nyumba, kisa kulipa masomo na chakula.
And then we subtract from your costs the financial aid. This is from the government, from the state, from the school, and from private donors.
So, all of those things.
Got it? Okay. And what is left over when you subtract your financial aid from your total cost is what you need. And that's what we're focused on, because that's what we don't have at the moment, right? So, financial aid, like I said, there is federal aid. We're going to start with this. It requires the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid.
What is free? What's the word for free?
Asante kwa bure na mkuu apply bure.
Maana ni ni maana ni free application ya wanafunzi.
All right.
And Riziki, do you want Naaman to, you don't look like you're feeling very good, are you okay?
No.
Naaman, do you want to interpret for us today?
Okay.
Okay. Why don't you guys trade places?
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. You didn't, unless you still want to. I just know you said you don't feel good, so. It's your choice.
She's like, I'm not on top of my game.
I know it takes a lot of brain power. Sorry, I kind of blocked
So-
this better.
Federal aid starts with the FAFSA, and that is free. It does not cost you any money to apply for federal or for government financial aid.
Move this way, Naaman.
You were just blocking the screen.
Anasema federal aids ni kama vile FAFSA na ukitaka kuiapply haulipi kitu, ni bure kabisa.
You do not have to be a U.S. citizen to get government financial aid.
Hapashi kuwa citizen wa Amerika lakini unaweza kuapply hata kama hauko. Unaweza kuapply. Haimaanishi mpaka ukue. Lakini hata kama hauko unaweza kuapply yani bure.
And government financial aid includes grants, it includes work study, and it also includes student loans, so money you have to pay back.
Na hiyo italingana kuhusu pesa yako, tuseme kama vile hela zenyewe unapataka na loans kama vile tuseme madeni, tuseme kama mkopo.
And then financial aid also includes money from Missouri or the state. It can be, you do have to file a FAFSA, and you do have to be a U.S. resident or permanent resident to get money from Missouri, the state of Missouri.
Financial aid nyingine ni tuseme kama vile ni ya Missouri.
Resident means you have to live in Missouri.
Oh, yani kama vile unapaswa kuishi Missouri.
Right. Yeah, perfect. And then money from the school or institutional financial aid. You do not have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident to get financial aid from some schools.
Na upashe kuwa US citizen kupata hiyo sijui aid ya masomo au kupata hiyo hela ya masomo. Unaweza ipata hata kama hauko American citizen as long as uko hapa ku Springfield. As long as unaishi hapa to Springfield na kuna wanafunzi hapa.
All right. So federal financial aid, like I said, it requires a FAFSA, available for non-citizens as well. It's free to apply for, and you don't have to pay some of it back.
Kama sasa nisema federal financial aid ina pia kuna FAFSA, kuna hiyo eligible citizen na hizo zote unazipata kwa bure au lipi kabisa.
These last two items are loans. Both you and your parents can get loans if your parents are citizens or residents as well. And since they have to be paid back, we want to focus on those. And I'm going to let Vicki Jacobson talk about student loans.
Na kuna hizo mbili hapo chini, hiyo student loans na parent loans, kabla simea mwanafunzi na mzazi, na taacha huyu kufikia ile kusema kuhusu hiyo.
So I just want to emphasize here, grants, scholarships are free.
Nataka ongeze hapa, renti na scholarship, sio kama vile la masomo ni bure.
Okay? Loans must always be repaid.
Na loans ni lazima ulipe. Yaani kama vile ukichukua lazima urudishe. Kama vile ni kudai kukope alafu wewe utarudishia baadaye.
Yeah. And you can share, we spend a lot of time with our freshmen explaining the difference.
Na unaweza ona wanakaa na club mingi na ba freshmen banaongea kuhusu hiyo.
Okay? Sorry, Steve, which button did you hit to advance? Oh, sorry. Okay. Two types of federal student loans.
Kuna aina mbili ya student federal loans.
Okay? Both come with a grace period.
Na zote zinakia na tuseme kama vile na kipindi kama vile maalama tuseme hivyo. Kama tunaona pale vile tunaona pale vile 4.53%. Hivyo ni kama vile zinakia hivyo hivyo.
A grace period is unique to federal student loans.
Na grace period ni sema ni muhimu au ni ya pekee kwa mwanafunzi.
Yes.
Thank you. What is a grace period?
A grace period, okay, is while you are in school at least half time, you are not required to repay the loan.
Oh. Grace period ni kwa sijui nini sasa kuelekea grace period nini? Hiyo inasema kipindi kwa masomo unasoma. Lazima nika vile tuseme.
So the grace period is a period of time where as long as you are enrolled in school, you do not have to repay that loan at that moment in time.
But it's
Nika
only
vile
6
kwa
months.
masomo unasoma lakini haurudishi ile pesa. Unasoma kwanza, unasoma. Kisha mwisho utakia kurudisha hiyo pesa. Au pole nyuma huko mwisho kisha maliza masomo.
So I'll give you an example. You're a student. You are in school full-time in the fall or even half-time. You come back for the spring semester. You come back for a second year, a third year, a fourth year. These loans are all deferred. You are not required to repay them as long as you are still going to school. What triggers repayment? Explain this one. Repayment is triggered.
Anasema kama vile tuseme mwanafunzi yuko kwa masomo.
Okay. So for you, the student, or if the parent borrows, loans go into repayment when the student stops attending, hopefully not until they graduate, but we have students that withdraw. Life happens, and they drop out of school, or they drop below the half-time threshold. Again, life happens, they're overwhelmed with a full-time load, they drop down to just a single class. The grace period, that 6 months, begins. Once you've reached 6 months, month 7, you have to repay those student loans. However, if you stop, you go into grace, and then you go back to school, they're in deferment again. It's called an in-school deferment. So, the point is, if you borrow money, you stay in school, because when you stop attending, the loans come due.
Tunasema mwanafunzi anaenda kwa masomo, alafu anashindwa darasa, anakosa. Tena itabidi tena rudilie, na labda hivyo tuseme mzazi wako alienda kuazima hizo hela ndio kusomesha. Ukaenda kukopa afu hizo hela mwanafunzi labda ukashindwa kwenda kwa masomo kabisa. Alafu tena ukarudia, tena ukapenda kurudi tena kwa masomo. Lazima tena mzazi wako tena atalipa. Tena atalipa hizo hata kama haukuenda na uliposhaanza kusoma. Utazilipa kwa sababu uliposhazikopa.
So both loans come with a 6-month grace period, because not all students are going to be eligible for a subsidized loan, just like not all students are eligible for a Pell Grant. The FAFSA, the application, determines what type and how much aid you're eligible to receive.
So hizo nani mbili zinakia zote na miezi 6 na zote zinalingana kuhusu na jinsi mwanafunzi atakuwa anafanya.
Say that again?
Can you explain the last word?
The what again?
Can you explain the last word?
Let's see. So not everyone is eligible for a subsidized loan. It's based on what you qualify for by completing the FAFSA.
Okay.
So you might get a Pell Grant or you might not.
Yeah, so unaweza pata fingerprints au uzipata na inalingana na jinsi uko mwanafunzi.
Hapana, anasema hivi. Hiyo FAFSA joy inakuwa inapanda zile pesa. Sasa kama uli apply zile mbili ni miezi 6 months ndio unasubiria kusudi FAFSA ndio inakuwa inafuatilia.
So the main difference here is the subsidized loan will not accrue interest or add interest while the student's in school. See, it does not accrue interest while in school.
Yeah, kama vile sio leo pale. Haiko interest kama kwa masomo. Yaani jinsi ni kwa masomo hiyo haiko interest.
Can you say it this way? It's interest free as long as the student is in school.
Okay. Kama vile
iko free kama kama uko masomo. Kama utoke masomo, then you are free. Uko free kwenda masomo, waweza kulipisha. Mimi ukitoka banaanza kulipisha.
Unsubsidized interest begins accruing or adding on from the very beginning of the loan.
Does everybody understand what interest is?
Yes. Kila mtu anaelewa kama interest ni nini, lakini
Anasema hivi pale, entere ya mkubwa, yani kitu kenye kina focus ya mkubwa, ile interest ni kitu kenye, yani kina focus, sijui niseme kwa Kiswahili. Yani ni kitu kenye unakinyika muhimu zaidi. Wawe kupata zile pesa ni mzuri wakati uko masomo. Njoo ile interest maana kitu kina focus muhimu zaidi.
Inafuatilia zaidi sana.
Interest on a federal student loan is fixed.
Yeah, na interest na federal students on imetengenezwa. Kwa nini?
This year, it's 4.53%.
Yaani mwaka huu ni 4.53%.
What does it mean to be fixed?
Means that the rate will not change for the life of a loan.
Won't go up or later.
Yaani inamaanisha kisi imetengenezwa, imemaanisha haienda juu. Yaani iko pale pale.
Yaani kama vile wakipanga pesa fulani ni zile kwa mwaka mzima, zibadiliki.
Ndio.
Yeah.
Nasema unaona kwa mnatia mtendea interest. Atujue nasema juu ya college namna gani mwanafunzi anapata anaweza kupata grant, anaweza kupata loan. Sasa mnatia tu interest hatuoni ni kiwango ngapi ya pesa mwanafunzi anapataka kama mwaka wa kwanza, mwaka wa pili, mwaka wa tatu, kusudi tujue iko je.
He said you put there an interest, but you didn't put like how much will the student pay for a year, or like how much will the student pay for all season?
It will depend on the number of credits or classes the student enrolls in.
Hiyo inalingana sana credits za mwanafunzi au consider tu kwa kipindi alikuwa anasoma huko chini. Jua naangalia kama credits zako unasoma. Sasa wakiona credits zako ni za mingi au ni zinaenea, but au ni jinsi gani ya kulipia ile zinatosha.
I have a question too. Yeah. Did this help if like a student, me, I'm adult and I am going to school, I need to be in college maybe next year or next 2 years. So I don't know if me too, can I do this or is it just for students in high school? I don't know.
As an adult, we can do it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's for undergraduate students, people working on an associate degree or a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
Okay, how much can I borrow? Because there are limits on what you can get each year and for a lifetime. Okay? So, as an incoming student, someone with no college, right out of high school or an adult, I can borrow up to this much. Now, a dependent is you, the student, that you're 18, well actually put it this way, you're considered dependent until you are 24, until you get married, until you have your own dependents that you're supporting, or you're active duty military. So if I am 25 years old, I'm an independent student. If I am 18, right out of high school, most likely I'm a dependent student. If I'm a mom of 3 kids and I've never been to school before, I'm an independent student. The annual amount is based on the number of credits I have earned. So if I have no college credits, I'm considered a freshman or a first time. If I'm transferring with 70 credits, I'm probably a junior. Does that make sense? So there are annual limits per year, per school year. This would be an annual limit. These are lifetime limits toward your first or second bachelor's degree. If you're going on for a graduate or master's work, those are higher limits.
Okay, so hapa anamaanisha nini? Ngapi unaweza kuwazima? Na hiyo inalingana kwa mwanafunzi kama miaka yake. Tuseme niko miaka 18, fika mpaka miaka 21. Niko dependence. lakini nikishafika miaka 10 tuseme miaka 25 kupandisha nishakuwa independent, au nikishakuwa nishaolewa nishazala, hapo naweza kujitafutia sasa, nishakuwa independent. Au tuseme nilikuwa mwanafunzi mwenye nilienda kwa masomo alafu nikapenda kurudi tena kwa masomo, nishakuwa na watoto wawili, nishakuwa independent, napaswa kulipa. Hiyo inalingana na kisi gani utalipa sasa, kama uko independent au uko dependent. Na hiyo hapo chini ni tuseme lifetime zoro, yani kama tuseme yote na yote sasa yenyewe zalipa mwaka wa kwanza mpaka au tuseme uliama kutoka kwa shule kwenda ingine, hiyo hapo ndio kwa total yako yenyewe zalipa. Kwa hiyo so sio kama naelewa.
Niko na swali kidogo. Bo, sisi ni wahamiaji. Na sisi ni wahamiaji, sisi wamoja tulipata elimu nyumbani kwetu. Labda tuko na bachelor, tuko na degree. Tunafika huko, tunataka kusoma, tunataka kuendesha masomo. Sasa nasikia eti inafaa mtu akuwe na grade score ya masomo. Sasa mtu ataipata alipata elimu kwao, sasa anapenda kuanzia hapa sasa. Ulizo wangu ya kwanza.
Okay, so the first question is, most of us are moved from our countries to come here, and maybe in our countries we go to school, we had our bachelors or social degrees, and then we came here and we want to study. And the question is, how can I go to school, or how can I go to the college, or without my credits? Because maybe they don't give a credit over there, just give like percent and points, but no credits. And so, how?
You would have to apply for admission to the school. So
apply for admission ya masomo.
So you fill out what they call an admissions application.
So unaweza andika hiyo au kujaza hiyo application inaandikwa
Admission.
ndio hiyo.
And that admissions office determines what your grade level is, if you bring any credits in, if you get credit for past experience. Some community college will evaluate that you might get credit for past work.
Ya na ofisi ndio itaamua, inaangalia jinsi gani ya kuitatua hiyo matatizo. Jua taangalia pale alama zako na utajua mtu alikamata hii klasi na hii klasi na hii klasi, taziunganisha tutakuwa na credit fulani. So kwa hizo credit zinaenea zenye ndio watamaliza sasa.
Won't the school have to contact the school from the other country? I mean,
Most
you would,
likely it's the student doing it, unless there is a clearinghouse for it.
Okay.
Most US schools are going to use a clearinghouse where they have access to that.
So just
I don't know about foreign schools.
right, but it would be up to the potential student to gather the documentation from the old university. So that may or may not be possible.
But they can provide a certificate of residency even. It depends on the school, it depends on the program.
Right.
si ndio sio wanakwambia ndio
Ili wako na sema credit ni vya kupata graduate nini.
si ndio hivyo, usindio release. Ndio release. Atapa hizo jua hapa anaweza sana juu kuhusu credit. Na ukienda kwa masomo kule utaweza class zenyewe kupitia hapo chini juu angalie ngapi ulipata credit ngapi. Sasa ndio pana uliza sasa kule bataangalia hata kama kule kuna kwa data credit bataangalia zile alama zile.
Yeye kwa mfano kuna degree.
Yeah, sasa unafika hapa unaionyesha ile degree. Sasa wanaonyesha kwenye banaiona ukishaipita moyo yote ndio wanakuona kutia sasa kwenye magi kwenye level yako iko wanakuonyesha sasa kwenye onezi ya njia kwa level yako.
I just want to touch briefly on a Parent Plus loan. This is if the student, because we saw a student could only borrow a little bit, $5,500 for the year. If that doesn't pay the bill, a parent can take out a loan. It's called a Federal Parent Plus. Still a federal loan, still a fixed loan, higher interest, but it can work one of two ways. If the parent is approved, they can specify the dollar amount. If the parent is denied, the student can take out an additional either $4,000 or $5,000, depending on their year in college. Freshman and sophomore can borrow an additional $4,000, juniors and seniors $5,000. So it's another loan, it's unsubsidized, to help pay that student bill.
Angetaka kuhusiana nyingine inaitwa Parent PL US. What does it mean?
Non-transferable, is that the one?
Yeah.
Non-transferable non-transferable means you cannot take out a loan in your name expecting someone else to pay it.
Okay.
We get that a lot where a parent will take out a loan and they'll say, well, my student or my son or daughter is going to pay it. That may be your agreement as a family, but you can't take that loan and put it in their name. Yeah.
Ulikuwa pale niulize juu mpaka vile sinakuwa nachanganyika, sielewi vizuri. Tunasikia kwa college na kwa university. Kwa mfano kama mtu alitoka alisoma university mahali fulani. Je, anataka kusoma university huku wala anataka kusoma college?
I have a question. So the example is, if I were in my country, if I was going to college and I get my degree or my associate's degree, and I came here, so he heard that there is college and university. So if he get here, which one should he took? Should he took college or university again?
He's asking this, let me, sorry, he's saying this, like you done high school and you need to go, you already go like university, maybe first class, second, and you want like continue with university. So in America, if you want learn, you want to go to school, can you go in college or university?
Both. Out of high school, you have the option of a 2-year school called a community college. It's just a 2-year school. A university is 4 years or more. It depends on that school's accreditation from the state. Because we do have 4-year schools that are colleges, and then 4-year schools that are universities. They have higher accreditation. But a community college is a 2-year school. A college or university, mainly 4 years and more.
And Vicki, I'm going to touch on vocational schools as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. State financial aid. You want me to keep going with this one?
No, I can
Okay.
take over. So state financial aid comes from the state. For most of us, that's going to be Missouri.
So state financial aid inatokea mu states. Sisi wetu hapa Missouri.
Oh, good.
To qualify, you have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident of the U.S.
Kuhakikisha unapaswa kuwa residenti au kuwe ni na mtu hapa. Ndio hakikishaji wote, yani kuipata. Unapaswa kuwa resident au tuseme sio wahamiaji. Yaani kisi tuko tushakuwa na green card, hivyo tunaenda kuipata. Tutaenda kuishi.
Brooklyn says you are a permanent resident.
If you have
Yes,
your
we
green
are.
card, then you all are refugees with green cards, so you are a permanent resident.
Great. So you all might qualify for Missouri financial aid.
Which is more money. Woo.
Yeah.
Since you might qualify, make sure to do your FAFSA the February before you go to college, before February.
So ingine kuhakikisha ni gisi wewe wanafunzi tuko kama hauenda ku college. Yaani kabla ya kwenda college, yaani kama tuseme kabla ya mwezi wa pili unapaswa kushamaliza FAFSA yako kwa sababu
What is FAFSA?
FAFSA, what is FAFSA?
The free application for federal student aid.
Okay, nasikia sasa. Ni nani ya bure wanapatia tuseme watakusaidia kulipa nusu ya masomo. Okay.
Free application
For federal student.
Naima, can you tell them how you and your family did the FAFSA?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, familia.
Because she's done it.
free application for federal students.
Aid.
Yeah, it's online, right?
Yep.
Yep. It's an online application. Yes. And we at the office can help you guys. If you're wanting to fill it out, you can come to me or Rebecca or Jadida, and we can help you on the computer. You just ask us.
Great. Good. Institutional or school financial aid.
Institution, our financial or school financial aid.
Each school is different, so not every school will have the same financial aid, and not every student will qualify for financial aid at their school.
Kila masomo iko na tofauti, lakini kila masomo can you repeat it again?
Yeah, each school is different,
Ya kila masomo iko tofauti.
and they will have different financial aid than the school next door.
Wana watakuwa na tofauti financial aid.
Misaada tofauti.
Ndo hiyo, yes. Wana misaada tofauti. Yaani ingawa tuseme masomo yetu iko tofauti na hapa, na nusu tutakuwa tofauti na kila kitu.
Yeah, for example, one school may be able to give you $10,000, and another school may only be able to award $5,000.
Na kabla tofauti. Masomo mmoja nakupatia 10,000 na kuna nyingine nakupatia 50,000 yote.
Is that usually in the form of scholarships?
Yes.
So if one school give you like a 10, another one 20, for example, so if your need is like a 20 and the school give you like a 10, how can you do?
Other kinds of financial aid from the government, the state, private funding if you have, or even a job while you're in school.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So all of these things, so the grants that he talked about, this institutional financial aid, all the different loans that Miss Vicki talked about, those are all different things that you can qualify for. That will help you pay for this big cost of school. And different schools cost different amounts of money. So it just depends on where you want to go.
So like one person can get like 3 of them or just one loan?
It depends on what you qualify for. Sorry, go ahead. I don't want to.
Good question. One person can take out, they can take out multiple loans. We can take out
Yes.
private and a government loan.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that same person can also have a scholarship from the state and a scholarship from the government and a scholarship from the school.
Thank you.
It all
So,
comes together. Good question.
so I actually just graduated college in May, and I had a whole combination. I went to a really expensive school. I don't know why, but I went to a really expensive school that cost about $40,000 per year. So I went 4 years times 40,000. It's a lot of money. But each year I had a Pell Grant, and I had institutional aid, and I had state aid, and I had federal loans. I had all of these things, and they all added up to be what I needed each year. And I had a job, so I had all of the things. So.
Okay. With most schools, you do not have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident.
Masomo mingi haupashi kuwa American citizen, haupashi kuwa haupashi kuwa tuseme mkaaji. Masomo mengine unapata tu tunaipata kama kwa mkaaji tunaweza kuipata. Haimaanishi mpaka ukue ni mtu wa.
Great. Thank you. All right. Private financial aid. Vicki, do you want to talk about that?
So this was all federal aid. It comes from either the federal government or the state. Now we're going to talk about private loans. It does not come from the government. It does not come from the state. It comes from a local bank.
So sasa tena kuongelea kuhusu private loans, ni kama vile ya kisiri. Haitoki ku government, government au haitoki sema kuinchi, inaenda kuikopa kubenki.
Okay. So private or alternative is based on your ability to borrow, your credit score. Have they ever worked with a credit score?
Possibly.
Okay. So private loans are based on your credit history.
Ya na hiyo private loans inalingana na tuseme ability yako jinsi iko.
You may need a cosigner if you don't have credit, which we see from students trying to take out a private loan. They don't have a credit history. So they need a cosigner, someone else that will sign on that loan saying, if you don't pay it, I will pay it. That's what a cosigner is.
So na kuna zingine wanafanyia cosigner, na cosigner ni yule mtu anataka kusaini. Sema kama vile mzazi wangu, mimi nataka kudai. Mzazi wangu anataka kusaini pale. Kama mimi sikulipa, mzazi wangu atalipa. Au kusema rafiki yangu. Kama mimi sitalipa, rafiki yangu ataka kunisainia pale. Kama mimi si mwako kikwea ukipita ukienda ukirudi sikulipa, ule rafiki yangu anataka.
Kama hauna credit.
Ndio.
Okay? Interest rates are fixed and variable. Fixed, which means they do not change. Variable, they can change every year, up or down.
Na kuna zingine ile inaitwa ina fix ndio haibadiliki. Na variable ni ile inabadilika kila mwaka au kila kipindi.
The lender, meaning the bank, decides what your citizenship requirement is, not the school.
Na benki ndio itaangalia namna gani itakupatia, sio masomo unaweza kukopa wala nini, lakini ni benki. Hizo ndio pale benki inaenda kukopa na ndio itaangalia namna gani itakukopa hizo hela kulingana na lisi huko.
And when you go into repayment, you cannot combine a private loan with a federal loan. You have to pay the private loan and the federal loan. They do not combine for one payment.
Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah. So these are a last option. Look for scholarships before you.
Yeah, you don't want this. I got one.
No, you don't. Okay, now this is gonna get a little heavy because this is our vocabulary, okay? So loans, and I've got it defined right up there. Loans, money you borrow that you have to pay back.
Loans ni tuseme loan inamaanisha nini? Ni hela yenye uliazima na utairudisha. Ndio inaitwa loans.
Grants do not have to be repaid.
Na grants na hautalipia. Yaani ni kama vile sitarudisha. Ni kama vile banilipia mimi alafu mimi sitarudisha. Nisaidie. Sitarudisha. Grants.
And scholarships, oops, sorry, go ahead.
Hiyo grant inapewa kwa college na kwa university au iko mahali fulani tu?
I'm just asking about like grades. Where can you get grades? So can you get in high school or in college or somewhere else?
College, yeah. So there's the Pell Grant based on the FAFSA application, if you qualify for it.
Pale pa Pell grants, yani naenda unajua FAFSA vile tuko bado wako na apply. Hiyo ndio ni Pell grants kwa sababu wanakulipia.
There's the state grant.
Na kwa state grants,
By applying early before February 1st.
yenyewe unaweza kuapply kabla ya February.
Yeah.
Oh,
But most everything else is going to be a scholarship. It's similar to a grant, but scholarships, you have to do an additional application.
Yeah. Let's go into the
you explain that the FAFSA, it's determining your grants like based on your income. Did you say that? I don't know if
I
you
don't
said
think we
that.
did.
Yeah, so I think that's where they're confused. They think it's
Okay.
just an application that they just make.
Oh,
So,
okay,
yeah.
so the FAFSA, that application determines how much aid and what type.
Okay, so FAFSA inamaanisha ngapi na namna gani?
I want to ask you the second one, grant.
Okay.
For to qualify the grant, what is the?
The
The
FAFSA.
application.
Mhm. Now, that application is based on how much you earn, your income, how many people are in the family, how many people are in college. There are 106 questions.
Okay.
It takes all of that and identifies, do you qualify for a grant?
Okay.
Yes or no?
Okay.
So the grants come from here, the scholarships would come from the school.
Okay.
Okay? The scholarships require a separate application, not the FAFSA. Okay? And then the EFC, the estimated family contribution, simply put, is the FAFSA score. That's what we use to determine what type of aid you qualify for and how much. And then cost of attendance. Every school on your award letter will show you the cost of attendance. That is not what you owe. That is not what you owe.
So
About scholarship, what can make somebody to get scholarship at school, like a young girls at school, high school? So what is?
See, the scholarship, I can't speak for every school because scholarships depend on how much money that school has to give out. If you have a school like Drury that has heavy endowments, a lot of savings, they have more to give out. You have a smaller school, maybe they don't have a lot of money to give out.
All kids, all school students in high school can get scholarship, or there is a
They need to apply. So every
only
school,
apply.
they have to apply.
Yeah, usually, yeah, but, no, you go.
If I can add,
Yes.
generally, good grades,
Yeah. Is that-
community or school participation, so volunteer hours.
Majors.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, is that
Sometimes
just
you have to write an
because-
essay. I had to write essays
Yes.
to say
All
like,
of us.
yeah,
Yeah.
to write
Unaweza
a small
apply
essay.
na hauko na
Hauna
somebody
magrade,
za
hauna
mzuri.
nini.
Wewe ni bure.
Yeah, is that I was asking for?
And
Yeah,
good
I
behavior.
understand.
That's always, kindness counts.
Yeah.
So on that cost of attendance, like I said, it's not the bill. The bill comes from the student account, the billing office. So if you sign up for 3 classes, they will charge you for 3 classes. The financial aid office then does a cost of attendance. We estimate what it costs you to exist while you're taking those 3 classes. And we put in there what it costs you for housing, because you have to live somewhere. What it costs you for food, because everybody's going to eat. What it costs you for transportation, for personal expenses. So it's merely a budget, and they've done budgets, right? So think of the cost of attendance as your budget, but your billing statement is what you actually owe. So if you're gonna do a monthly budget for the month of November, here's my budget, this is how much I'm making. What is this school going to charge me? Does it fit within my budget? I know that was a lot. So the cost of attendance is merely an estimate of what it will cost you to go to school.
So the cost of attendance ni kabla tuseme ni kabla itakudai wewe. Kabla ni kwenda kwa masomo. Kila siku na attend. Nitalipa. Juu au itakuwa nitalipia. Itakuwa kama ni cost, nitaitia kwa list yangu kwa vitu vingi. Juu nayo nitalipia. Nilifika. Ni lazima nitalipia. Hiyo ndio inaitwa ni cost of attendance. Utakuwa unaangalia kwa masomo, unaangalia ni klasi gani, hiyo klasi na bako nakuwa naangalia na
Anasema hivi, kama uko na attend class kila siku, tuseme kwa mwanafunzi mzuri, una attend class kila siku, maanake kwa kawaida tu ushindaki au miss class, para kwaka ile nani ya mtoto, kama kuna magrade za mzuri, wala una attend class kila siku, unakuwa unapata nani ya qualification ya mzuri. Unaona? Yaani masomo nakamata kama kwa mtoto mzuri juu unasoma. Njo mwaile sasa mwaile kupanda ile manani ile benefit wanapana pale, ile interest wanapana. Wewe kama kwa mwanafunzi mzuri unaweza yaani unaweza kulipiwa partir ya ile. Wewe ndio unalipiwa juu kwa mwanafunzi mzuri, na ile manani ile mwale mafranga ndio unalomba inakuwa sasa ile wanakulipa.
Okay, and then loan servicer. And this is how I explain it to our first year students. You borrow money from the Department of Ed, okay? Through the school, they give you out the money. They do not collect it. They assign you a federal loan servicer. All that servicer does is collect your student loan payment. They don't do credit cards, they don't do home loans, no car loans, just student loans. And it's a federal loan servicer. It's a big industry where kids are getting scammed.
Can you give some examples of the names of the different ones?
Yes, let's see. Nelnet, Navient,
What was it? Navient?
Navient,
Smell that.
Navient,
Great Lakes, that's my.
Great Lakes, Fed Loan Servicing, Mohila,
Oh, Gila, that's right.
I believe it's Ed Financial. I have to think, because there are just 10 of them.
Okay.
There are just 10
In the country, not just for
Yes.
Missouri?
in the country.
Okay.
And we don't pick it.
Right.
You don't pick
Right.
it. It is
You have no
assigned to you.
choice. Yeah.
But weekly, I get phone calls from the National Student Loan Organization. It's a scam. As soon as they ask me, what is your FSA ID number, and I'll look you up. I ask the students in our first year classes, if I asked you, hey, what's your credit card username and password? You hang up on me. This is the same thing. It's that FAFSA, FSA ID, Federal Student Aid ID. You guard it like it's your username and password for your credit card.
So once
don't
they
share it with
get their
anybody.
loans, they're gonna start receiving phone calls like that. And they need to know,
Who their servicer is. You only talk with your servicer.
okay, so that's the take home, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, quickly, because this will be years down the road. When you go to repay your student loan, there are a variety of options, whether they took out a student loan or a parent loan, a variety of options. So in our world, we say there's no reason to default on a student loan. 4 of these are based on your income, your ability to repay. I'm working with a student right now who graduated in May. She doesn't have a job yet. She's like, I go into repayment in November. How am I gonna pay this back? You've got 4 based on your income. They will work with you. And you are never stuck in one plan. You can move from plan to plan as life changes. So, but that's down the road.
So down the road, kinyo nasema kama ule kulipa sasa. Sije tusienda mzuri kama mngeelewa vizuri muulize ngakunisaidia.
Namna ya kulipa malipo sasa, lazima jua namna ya malipo.
Ndio.
Unaweza kuanzia kulipa au miaka
Most of the students are permanent residents.
Refugees, they came here less than 2 years ago. They're adults, so
Mhm.
they are permanent residents, they have a green card.
Okay.
So,
Makes my job easy to know.
yeah,
I had all these different statuses.
right.
We'll go back to citizenship.
No, they're all refugees with green cards, they're all permanent residents.
Alright. With us so far? Good? Okay, real quickly. Like I said, you don't have to be a U.S. citizen to receive government financial aid. Most of us are gonna be permanent residents. But if you're not, you can be any of these other categories and more and still get government financial aid.
Kama alisema mbele, haupashi kuwa American citizen kupata hizo. Yeah. Sasa unaweza kuwa pale permanent resident au refugee au vitu vyote, yani unaweza kuwa na tofauti na vitu vingi na ukapata, yani ni utapata hata kama hauko kabisa, unatoka tu mwingi unakuja hapa, unataka kwa upendo, unataka kwenda kwa masomo, utaipata kwa bure, haulipiwa na kitu chochote.
But to get federal financial aid and state financial aid, you do have to file a FAFSA.
Lakini kupata federal financial aid unapaswa ujaze ile FAFSA kama tuliongea mbele, kwa sababu kasaidia kulipa.
If you're not a U.S. citizen, you should have some other sort of document to show what your status is.
Kama hauko American resident or
Citizen.
citizen, unaweza onyesha tu hizo sijui maplikasi za kuinchi yako yenye ulitoka. Unaweza kuonyesha tu sijui vitu ya familia, ya masomo, ukasaidia.
Citizen meaning usually born here or adopted by someone who was born here.
Yeah, na kama hujaelewa citizen inaonyesha nini, ni kama vile mtu anazaliwa hapa na akaishi hapa.
Ama walikubali, mama walikubali kwa mtoto.
Yeah.
Mtu wako
All right. If you're not a U.S. citizen, most of us are going to have our green card or I-551. If you don't have that, you should have an I-94, or you may have one still, or at least an alien registration number, an ARN. Is that most of us?
Yeah, you should have all of those things.
Go ahead.
Daktari alisema mbele, unaweza onyesha tuseme huko, unaweza onyesha ile bale au ile ya. Unajua vitu vingi wetu tuko na aina nyingi tuko na au ile alien number tunaambiwa ni ya watu na program. Hii hapa inaitwa tu alien registration number. Unaweza kuonyesha hiyo nani bali tunaweza kuionyesha kama uko na hiyo.
aina ya forma green card.
Yeah.
I-94 is when you came into the country and you get a stamp or a, electronic sticker.
Aina ndivyo kabla unakia mwinchi, unasimama mwinchi. Unapata aina ndivyo.
Whatever documents you have, when you apply for financial aid, schools will need the original documents. No copies, no photos. We have to have the original document to show that you're eligible for financial aid. So hang on to that original document.
Kipindi ndo apply, wengi wetu tunazo hizo madokima zetu. Na zikuwa original. Yaani zikuwa zinakusha zikuwa original. Kwa kipindi utakapokuwa na apply kwa sababu napenda bado zile original pili kuona zile copy sijui ulichana afu ukaenda kuitumisha nyingine. Hata kama ulichana na iko kipande unganisha ikuwe mzima ukiwa uonyesha. Sababu nahitaji hizo makopi kwa njia ya kupata hiyo msaada.
Okay. So how do we do it? Step 1 is to create what's called an FSA ID. It's your username and password for the FAFSA.
So kile ya kwanza kufafsa yenyewe unapaswa kuwa nayo ni FSA ID. Number, right? ID number?
Username and password.
Yeah, tuseme naka username au password.
That is how you're going to file the FAFSA, which is step number 2.
Ndo hapo sasa utataka kufile FAFSA ndo namba ya pili. Kitu ya kwanza kuwa na hizo FSA ID shakupa tayari ndio FAFSA na kujaza mambo. FSA ID unapaswa create banapatia naka he's asking about like where can you get the FSA ID or where can you create it?
Online.
Unaweza create online au unaweza kupedia file ukanani.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So when you type in FAFSA, when you go into the computer and you type in FAFSA, there will be some companies that are private that will try to take your money. It should never charge you anything, and you should never give your private information unless if it says, it should say FAFSA.gov. At the end, it always should say .gov. It should not say anything else. If it says something else, that is not a good service.
Social Security.
And again, we can help you, I can help you to fill it out.
Yes, whenever you're putting information on the internet, make sure you know where you are on the internet. So, because there are not good people out there.
Yeah.
So,
We joke that we will help you file your FAFSA. A paid preparer will help you file for FAFSA. We're both gonna do it wrong, but we're free.
but you're free, yeah, exactly, yes. Lola?
What kind of financial information do you have to put into the FAFSA? What kind of information do you have to put in there?
Tax return, if you filed one. And if not, at least all of the money that you need to know how much money you made the last year. So for students applying, go ahead.
Sorry, mama pala tuliza ni tuseme aina gani ya kama vile tuseme financial unaweza jaza application gani unahitaji kwa kujaza FAFSA. Akasema unapaswa kuhitaji hizo ma tax return, hizo ma information yote. Unapaswa kuwa na jumla bana unahitaji hizo zote.
Alisema kukamata franga ya tax return kama ya mwaka jana, miaka miwili, ile pesa yenye ulipewa ku tax return. Na kama hauna ile, unahesabu pesa yote yenye ulipata kama vile mwaka jana last year, ile yenye ulipata yote una count zile pesa zote ndio unatia mwalimu information.
Mimi najua jinsi zote tulitiaka hizo pesa. Tulitia tunaona ile copy inaitwa pale temporary ndio alikuwa anahitaji. Tulipatiaka bakaangalia pale, bakaangalia tu watu wangapi walijaziwa, bakaangalia watu wangapi wako mnyumba, mkubwa familia. Sasa bakaangalia wakapiga makalkili. Ngapi anapata kusaa mzazi? Ngapi analipaka nyumba? Ngapi yani hiyo ya income. Yeah, yani ndio hivyo.
So did you say tax return or other information, or is it so if you have your parents' tax return, is that all you need, or do you need information about rent or what your house is worth and those other things? What are
Good question. No, you need your tax return if they their tax return if they filed one, and what are called W-2s, or how much money they made from their jobs. If they didn't file a tax return, they should at least have W-2s if they had a job. Other than that, name, date of birth, social, address.
So nothing about the assets you own?
Nope.
Nothing?
Can I ask another question about taxes?
Yeah.
So, I know, many of our clients, for whatever reason, file separate, file separate returns, joint married returns.
Yeah.
So, they need to, whenever they're applying for FAFSA on behalf of their children, right? So, especially, and almost all of our kids work too, so those tax returns and the parents' tax returns get put into FAFSA, all three, or just?
Yes.
All three, so, yeah, so it's the whole family, not just you by yourself, it's your whole family.
Right. Let's say the family has 3 people, mom, dad, parent 1, parent 2, and the student. The parent's information is going to go on one side of the FAFSA. If they filed as separate returns, just add them together. But if they're married or living together, add the 2 tax returns. And then the student's information will go on as the student's own individual, separate information. Great, good questions. Okay, up to this point, you filed your FAFSA just like everybody else.
So kwa hiyo point yako, umeshafanya FAFSA yako kama kila mtu yoyote, umeshamaliza kabisa.
There's going to be a question that says, are you a citizen or eligible non-citizen? Most of us are going to be eligible non-citizens or permanent residents.
So kule kutakuwa swali, yenye itakuwa ni swali pale ya mwisho, utakuta pale wewe ni citizen au uko eligible citizen. Eligible non-citizen. Na wengi wetu tunajua bali uko eligible non-citizen. Ndio tunajulikana kwa sababu ya kwamba citizen ni hapa.
Yeah. Put in your ARN, alien registration number.
Oh, okay. Na usisahau kutia alien registration number yako.
And then after you've put in your ARN, your alien registration number, and your tax information, and your name, and your date of birth, all you have to do is sign just like anyone else.
So ukishamaliza kutia ile number, ukishamaliza kutia ni tuseme username na hizo password, yani ukishamaliza tu kutia hizo, hapo sasa uko yani uko ready, ushakuwa tayari kumaliza na
I have a question. So, refugees all have unrestricted social security numbers. So, does it make a difference? Do they have to put their alien registration number in, or do they just, or like, it says or, so, I mean, they can just use their social security number? Or do you think is it gonna require both?
So when they create their FSA ID, they're going to use their social security number.
Okay.
When and that's what they'll use to sign the FAFSA. Remember I said the FSA ID was a username and password? It's also kind of like a key to the lock, which is the FAFSA. But there will still be a question about their citizenship status.
And so they're stuck with their AR?
Yes,
Okay.
because what happens, long story short, the government runs all sorts of checks through 7 different departments when the student submits their FAFSA. One of the checks is through SSA. And if the student isn't a citizen, the government's going to want another number to check their citizenship status so they can run it by DHS.
Okay.
So both. Yes?
So, when you fill out the FAFSA, do you say what colleges you want to, get that information, or does the college go into FAFSA and get the information that it needs to make a determination?
Good question. You tell the FAFSA which colleges you want to get a copy of your FAFSA.
And can you do multiple colleges?
Yes, up to 10.
Ya mama niliza pale kama vile ukienda kwa FAFSA, uko na